Recording in progress.
Hey there.
Hey,
You know what?
Amanda.
I just realized it needs to be my Zoom so that I can record it on my computer.
It will be
So,
recorded no matter what.
okay,
Oh,
cool. So
you want the actual Zoom recording?
yeah, would it be, can you either send it to me after this?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, normally
How are,
you must be sending invites, but this time you probably booked on my calendar.
yes, that's what I did. And I was like, oh, shoot, I probably should have. Well, how's your
No
Monday?
worries. Can't complain since busy since morning, closing few deals. Had another podcast session in the morning, so
Nice.
excited. Can't complain.
Perfect. Well, thank you for grabbing some time with me. I'm trying to find the questions that I sent to you a while back.
Sure.
Usually how I like to kick these off is just, introing you and then letting you talk through, Avoma, your time there, basically establish your authority and why you can speak on this. And then I'll just kick it off by asking some of these questions, but of course, like I'll throw in some things here or there too, like how much, I've really appreciated using this tool, or maybe some thoughts about sales and how it's changing and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Awesome.
typically you try to cover this like 30 minutes. How long you try to run this session?
Yeah, so each session is between 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
It can take about a half an hour to record, just depending. I usually don't edit them, but if something crazy happens and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to say that on the internet, just let me know.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah.
So is it Aditya?
That's right.
Perfect. Good. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
No, you're good.
Good. I've interviewed a few people and I thought their names were something different than they were. And so I'm glad that I just like to check. Even like my boss's last name is Pigott, and it's Pygott, but a lot of people say Pigott. Yeah, so a lot of it's just, it's weird. Are there any questions that you'd like additional questions you'd like me to ask, or things that you felt like I missed?
No, I think we've talked about it. I think all those are great topics. I'm excited. It's a real problem. So happy to share some of the lessons and learnings as well.
Awesome. Great. All right. So usually I'll just do a long pause and then I'll get us kicked off. So, all right.
No worries.
Cool. Aditya, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I am thrilled to talk with you. You work with, or at Avoma, I think you founded it. I have been using your tool for a while and I absolutely love it. And it's really helped me with my sales process. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are.
Thanks. First of all, Amanda, really excited to be here. And first of all, thank you for your business and supporting us. Customers like you is the reason why we wake up every single day and get excited to build even more valuable stuff. How I got here, this is my second startup. I have been a serial entrepreneur, built a previous company also in SaaS and B2B, sold it to a larger enterprise company, stayed there for a few years. I was doing sales, product management there. That's when I learned this problem. Interestingly, I had a domain expertise about what we're building, and then eventually decided to leave that job and start Avoma. Very briefly, what Avoma does, it's a AI meeting assistant for all customer-facing meetings, internal meetings. It records, transcribes your conversations, but more importantly, it also summarizes the notes for you. It will identify action items, what are the important moments customers shared, and then it helps you to go back and collaborate on that information with the other cross-functional team members a lot more efficiently. We give you a lot of aggregated insights to quickly identify the trends, what are the talk patterns, any bubbling needs that the customers are having. So you're able to understand those insights very easily. Have been at it for 3.5 years. We're a bootstrap slash initially then venture funded company. Still 13 folks on the team, so fairly small, but really excited. Have been running this for the last 3.5 years.
Awesome. Well, you touched on it slightly about what Avoma does, but I'd love to hear a little bit more detailed explanation of what active listening is.
This is interesting. This one of the things that everyone hears, that you must have heard, or most of the salespeople hear that, hey, listen actively. And it's not just what most of the times you see how the reps are running the calls. They'll try to have a series of questions and try to extract information, try to enter the information because somebody had told them that you need to enter this information
Mm-hmm.
into CRM and you need to follow the script. That happens typically with the more junior reps, but as you get more
Yep.
senior, people understand how to run these effectively. And early on, it's important, even as a junior person, to have this active listening skills. And when you think about it, it's not just what the customer shared, but truly have an intent to understand what they shared, comprehend that, and try to really understand the needs behind that question, or what was the genesis of that question itself was. Very rarely we end up really putting ourselves back and try to understand the customer, because we have our own agenda. We want to ask that next question. We are looking for that
Mm-hmm.
phrase or word that the moment you say something, I'm going to change my call script to ask you the next question. And so that's where we try to recommend that, hey, active listening is really important in general for any sales conversations. And a tool like Avoma definitely helps a lot. But more importantly, with today's remote selling, that becomes even a lot more important. I'm happy to talk about it, but I want to pause here to see if you have any thoughts based on what I've shared so far.
No, I absolutely love it. And I think it's so true. I've had some really great conversations with sales leaders that, really sales isn't just a process that you take a lead or a customer through. It's a way that you make them feel. And actively listening and is so important. And I've even, I still like to take notes because I feel like it helps me retain
Yeah.
and think about things well.
Yeah.
But I notice myself, now focusing a lot more on what people are saying instead of, like you said, trying to make sure I write everything down. And it's super important just to be present and to be real with people.
You are absolutely right. So the note taking, we are not saying that it will be completely going away. As you
Mm-hmm.
rightly said, it's important to capture what's important that you thought from the conversations, because there are certain things that are said and there are certain things that are non-said, that a
Yeah.
human only can start understanding what actually they said this, but they probably meant that. And so those are the
Mm-hmm.
nuances that you should always take your notes on. And you also talked about why it is important to be actively listening. One of the things I think about it is, if you look at the sales, how it has evolved today, there's a lot of automation everywhere. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
wants to do things faster, efficient, more. And in that aggressive nature of these automations, we've lost the this whole soft touch of building a rapport. And today, how buyers are buying, technology is technically becoming a commodity now. Products are similar. There is a brand, how marketing people are building their authentic brand, that does help. But once you start that sales process, that's when you realize that who's giving the best sales experience, how your
Mm-hmm.
prospect feel the building the rapport with you. And that's when they have that, do I trust this vendor? We are handling confidential conversations. The data is important. So do I trust this vendor to run these processes? Not just the sales itself, but how would they treat me after once we buy the solution from them? What is that post
Mm-hmm.
experience is going to look like? So all of that happens through that trust building. And if your active listening is one of those critical skills that helps you to build that trust. And I've had multiple conversations where a prospect would come and tell me, hey, this was a refreshing conversations we had with other vendors where it was very scripted. And now you truly feel that you're being understanding our needs. And here is the thing, the reason why prospects are feeling this today, attention, nobody has attention anymore. It has,
Right.
that span of attention has reduced so much. So when you think about it, when you give your attention to somebody else, it's actually they feel that you're giving your gift to them, because somebody giving that undivided attention is extremely valuable, because that's when they feel that they have been heard, they've been listened to, what they're sharing the problems with you. And that's why in general active listening is important. And we
I love
talked
that.
about with the whole remote selling now, and we are doing pretty much every single thing on Zoom. And now we don't have that level of in-person building that rapport, having that small talk as much as we would normally do. And that's why it becomes extremely important to have video conversations where you're not getting a lot of other cues, but then at least focus on the listening part. Do not get distracted in trying to do other things. And I even tell people that, look, it's even though you have these Zoom conversations, a lot of people don't turn out the video also on. Um,
Yeah.
People get, no matter what, they're multitasking, they get distracted. The attention is very low if you're not, the video is not turned on. And so if somebody does not turn on the video, it happens many times with me, even though I turn on my video, prospect will not turn on their video. And then I have to focus even double energy to make sure that every single thing that they say is actually understood really from the context of complete understanding. And so that's why I continue to believe that it is one of the most critical skills of sales. And people still ignore it. It's surprising.
I love that. We talked a lot about Zoom calls and video and making sure that we're like capturing the right like the right context and communication from our prospects and customers. But how would you say that this change in listening has kind of affected the modern day sales process?
I think the way, first of all, I recommend every single customer that, or even I told them that do not buy our solution. It's okay. If you're not recording conversation, that's the first thing you got to do. Do not have your reps to get anxious about, am I going to miss the details of what customer is saying? Because you have asked me to go and enter this information into CRM.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of letting that pressure on sales reps, let them record every single sales call. And it's okay, you don't buy Avoma, use Zoom recording, Google Meet recording, whatever conferencing system that you use. So the first and foremost, you need to record your conversations, because that's the way people have, everyone understand the gist of the conversation. They know how the call went. If you ask them, hey, how did the call go? They'll say, okay, it went great, or it didn't go well. So
Mm-hmm.
they feel about it. The feeling is always there. But when you ask them, tell me the details, what exactly they said, that's when people struggle. That's when they don't know, oh, I had 5 calls, what exactly this particular customer said. You're going to forget the details, and you're going to probably not remember the specifics that you promised to them. That's why having that recording meetings, conversations, going back and referring is extremely important. But that's just, again, one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that you can also, there are a lot of elements where you can get better in these conversations. We talk about coaching itself has multiple facets. There's a self coaching, there's a peer coaching, and then there's a manager and the rep coaching itself. So when you think about even just listening to my own ways, how I handle that objection, did I lose my confidence a little bit? Did I struggle there? And normally we don't go back and take that effort to understand those things. Was I smiling in the throughout the conversation, or was I just really stressed because these are all C-level executives? All those different things, you would be able to start observing patterns from your own calls. The second is not just, again, listening to your own calls. You can now have peers who are doing great. There's no shame in learning from what other people have done it. So why not identify how others are handling certain things? And so that's when the peer learning coaching also happens without having somebody else investing time in you. If you take this control of your own destiny, you can go and listen to other people's calls and try to get better in doing things. So don't blame manager or somebody else that they did not invest time in me to coach me. You can actually do those things on your own as well. And then lastly, obviously, a lot of companies do not have that luxury where manager is listening and giving active feedback. But if you have, that's great. Get that feedback from manager. And again, manager, why would they have to shadow in your calls, sitting there, spending another 30, 45 minutes, not doing anything, but just listening how you're doing in the call? They can do it a lot faster, a lot better asynchronously. So those are the things that we typically, with the whole remote selling, I recommend customers that you use Avoma or not, it's a secondary question. First, do these 3 things. And then when you start seeing that, hey, you're not able to do these things more efficiently, that's when do involve Avoma. And then we will happy to help you to speed up these processes by 3 to 4 times than normally. How would you do it?
I love that. I was speaking with a colleague about a month ago now, and one of her recommendations is to seek feedback from your supervisor, from your manager every day, at least 5 minutes of feedback every day. And we get so freaked out around review time, or we are getting our performance reviewed, and we're just so nervous about it because it's a conversation that maybe we're only having once every 6 months or once a year. But if we're constantly seeking feedback from our supervisor, from our manager, or even from like our own calls, we spend 5 minutes a day doing that. We spent a half an hour each week digging into how we can get better. And like that just compiles on top of itself and helps just make us better performers overall. I really like that feedback. That was really great.
100% agree. And even I like the fact that every 1% improvement that you can make every single day is going to compound. This has the compounding result. That is such an important point, that don't wait for that 6 months or 1 year period or even quarterly, because every day that you have that growth mindset, you try to invest in getting better at every single area, it's going to eventually help you to achieve your goals much faster, much sooner than you would have imagined.
Absolutely. One of the other things I wanted to talk with you about is that we joke all the time, like, I don't want to go to another meeting that should have been an email. I mean, I think that sometimes I look at my calendar for the week and I can't, like, there's 40 meetings in there or more, and it's crazy. And I don't understand how it happens. And I'm like, oh, I just wish maybe more emails. But, face to face or Zoom to Zoom nowadays, meetings are still really important. Like, why is that important for us?
Look, I don't believe that there have been always this thread, right? Email is dead. Slack is the only thing that's going to revolutionize the world. Then somebody would come in, meetings are dead. I think each one has its own place in its own way of how it's working. I have even a guidelines how to use Slack internally to our company, where new employees join and they don't know how to effectively use Slack as well. And sometimes Slack is also extremely noisy, gets out of hand, and you're constantly just reacting to Slack messages. So one of the things that we talk about is that if you start seeing that you're furiously going back and forth, that's the time that you need to go under synchronous collaboration. So Slack is helpful to do asynchronous collaboration. You're asking something, few back and forth are totally fine. But there's also a limit if you're trying to wait for other people typing, other person is typing long text messages, then it might be better to get on a meeting and to more effectively solve those issues. That's just one thing. But at the end of the day, now we're already seeing this whole remote work. People are not even coming to offices. So the voice, the energy, chatting with each other, there's no substitute for talking to people, listening to the voice, feeling that energy, and getting excited about the opportunities, or even sharing your frustrations and getting help from somebody else. The textual communication is not going to represent the same level of emotional value or the same kind of emotional state that you have. A lot of the times people have a different state of mind, and those text messages get read in different perspective where the other person's context was. So I do believe that it's not black and white to me, but there are times, like for example, I had written a blog post about um, updates, stand-up updates, some sharing updates. There are different kinds of meetings. Some are purely about sharing information. Some are about status update, and some are about brainstorming and making a decision. So you can decide based on your maturity of your organization, can you automate the status updates purely through some third-party kind of asynchronous channels? But when you need the brainstorming, when you need the feedback, that's when something like these conversations, meeting in person or through video, I think it's still not going to go away, and it's extremely important.
I agree. Ideas are not generated in an email. Like they're generated with each other and with teams, on not just staring at an inbox. 100% agree.
I like that point. And think about it. So I like the way you said it's, even if it was generated via email, every idea has possibilities. So what you're trying to look for when you share initial seed, and then you see how that tree is going to grow in what direction, there are so many branches that it could grow. And every organization, every team has a strength that they have that they should try to focus on. Hey, there are possible 3 things that we could do here. Which one of the branches that you're going to pick up? That's the decision making. Those micro level decisions are essentially nothing but an execution. People talk about that, ideas are worthless, it's all about execution. I actually disagree to some extent. I think that execution is nothing but ideas all along the way. These are the ideas that every execution is nothing but a tiny idea that you're deciding at that point and deciding, okay, do I solve this way or that way? That's just an idea itself. And when you think about that, that's essentially in the end, the execution happens. And I really love the way you said It doesn't happen in email. It has to happen in these kind of brainstorming conversations.
100%. I like that too. That execution is deciding ideas along the way. It's so true. And especially, when we have teams that execute work or ideas, they are in those roles because they're great at it. And that's why they're there, because they do it the best way. So completely agree.
Agree.
This has been such a good conversation. I just have loved talking with you about listening and the importance of that. I think we missed the boat on it a lot right now. It's easy to be distracted. We have our phones and our Slacks popping up. I had mine explode while we were on the call just now. But it's important to listen, and I really enjoyed your thoughts. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you, Amanda. Really appreciate giving me this opportunity to share what we're doing and why this is important for not just the sales community, but in general, pretty much all the meetings that we do.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope that was useful. And
that was perfect. That was really good.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. How often do you do these?
I've been putting out about 2 a week.
Okay.
So,
some of them. Every week you have like 2 sessions with a few other folks?
Yeah. So this will either go out Thursday or maybe next week. I do some with our internal team too, just because we have some cool people. At least I think I have cool people that I get to work with. So I like to ask them questions. And yeah, but actually, Tyler, I interviewed him in one podcast, and he got asked to be in 2 podcasts based off of our interview. So and we've had some neat things happen with like clients and leads along the way. Not, I haven't had anybody message me to be like, I want to be your client, but I've had leads check me out on LinkedIn and then say, oh, I saw your videos, or some of our clients have been giving a lot of good feedback on it too. So I'm doing it a couple months now. It's been pretty fun.
That is so cool. The reason I asked that, because it's something on my mind. Haven't been able to pull the trigger. Again, get busy and all those excuses that you might think of. But Absolutely. When you think about doing this, it's just another meeting, and it makes it, that takes off the pressure of, is the whole editing process and whatnot, and what to say and all of that. I think this is a really great way of doing it.
I've really liked interviewing other people because it exposes me to their network too.
Yeah.
So every post, I probably get 4 or 5 new connections. Wow. So I would recommend doing that. You probably have a lot of clients in a lot of different industries you can interview and talk with. And people are really, like, some of our clients that I've reached out to have been really complimented by it. Because there's people like you that are in this industry to help people become better sellers. Like that's what you do day in and day out. Yeah. But then some of our clients have been like, oh, you want to talk to me? Yeah. So it's been just good and fun. And it also gets my head out of the sales brain,
Yeah,
every now and then you need to
I like that point as well. And it just, again, now if you're remote, building this new connection is so good. Like LinkedIn is fine, but when you talk to somebody, that's when the rapport is again build, relationships are built also.
Absolutely. Do you guys use Vidyard? Do you use Vidyard?
Not yet. I've been thinking about it. We use Loom internally, but not for sending kind of videos. Also, we typically use Loom.
Do you use HubSpot or Salesforce?
Yeah. HubSpot.
Yeah. You should get Vidyard. I'm going to introduce you to my Vidyard guy.
Okay.
For it, you can see in their activity record if they watch a video, and you can also I can see how many videos or how many views there are. It's just a little bit better of a hosting platform too. I'll introduce you to him.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at it as well.
Great. Well, it's nice to see you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Amanda. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.